Okay, let's talk about the proposed start date. You cannot have changes go into effect in the middle of a semester. Let's say I'm a student in your class and you want to change the prerequisite to that course. But I haven't satisfied that prerequisite. Are you going to kick me out in the middle of the semester? It is better to have the effective dates go into effect at the end of that semester. Our normal effective dates are June 1st, August 1st, and January 1st. June 1st is the beginning of the academic year. So the semesters go summer, fall, and spring. There is a handout in your manual and in the other resources folder on Blackboard that gives a good description as to what curriculum team meeting you should shoot for to get your information in to go into effect on certain effective dates. You also want to remember that you need to have the effective date within the year. Let's say it's spring of 14. You cannot put an effective date of spring of 16. That's too far out. Now, you can have an effective date of fall of 15 for major program changes because you've already missed the deadlines for the curriculum team meetings to get everything approved for the fall 15 start. You can get some changes to go into effect the spring semester if they are approved in the fall. These are the course descriptions, the topical outlines, and the student learning outcome changes. Now, if you change the contact hours, or if you change the prerequisite, you may be able to have it go into effect in the spring if you have it approved early enough in the fall semester that we can have the course master rebuilt in Colleague before students begin to register. Some changes you must only put them into effect at the beginning of the academic year. That's a prefix number change or a credit hour change. These changes can only go into effect at the beginning of the academic year because they affect the programs themselves. If you change a credit hour, if you decrease it an hour, or if you increase an hour, that affects the program. So as you see, there's a lot of different variables that must be taken into consideration as to when the changes can take effect. The big one is registration. Let's say you want some changes for the fall semester. Fall begins 18th of August, 20th of August. But registration for the fall semester begins the end of April. And the forward comes out the end of March. So, and we're working on it probably 2 months ahead of that. So you really probably want to get your changes done the semester before. There are a couple of more things I'd like to talk about on the cover screen in Curricunet. One of them is the GED Illinois online question. I have no idea what that is. Just say no and go on. I do know what the dual course number equivalent is. No, it has nothing to do with dual credit. This is when a course is listed under 2 different prefixes and numbers. Our soils course, for example. It is listed as an ABM 103 course, and it is also listed as an AGR 203 course. Now, the ABM course is an occupational course, and the AGR course is a transfer course. The ABM course is 3 hours, and for the first 3 hours of the AGR course, it is exactly the same course. Same instructor, same book, same assignments, same everything. The AGR students go on for an additional hour after that. But for the first 3 hours, it's exactly the same course. It just has different prefixes and numbers. That's what this question means. I'd also like to discuss topics courses. We talked about in the last module that a topics course is a shell in which you are given the latitude to choose topics that can be taught. Now, it's usually listed as a $2.99 course. Now, this topic can only be taught twice in 3 years. For example, let's say the political science faculty want to have a course on the presidential election every 4 years. That would be perfect as a topics course. Or let's say that you want to develop a new course, but you want to test it out first. You would use it as a $2.99 number and see how it goes, see student interest, and then if you want to develop it under its own number, then you can. Now, a typical topics course description, a typical description for the shell itself, talks about this being an in-depth study, a variety of teaching methods, that credit is variable, that it's generally 1 to 4 credit hours, and it depends on the topic and the requirements of the student. Now, it can be a lecture, lab, or a combination. Now, you see on the codes at the end of this description, the skill level advisories varies by course. Then you'd put whether it was a transfer course or an occupational course. For the contact hours, you would put the maximum number that each could have. In this example, you could have a 4-hour lecture course, or you could have a 1-hour lecture course and a 6-hour laboratory course. That adds up to the 4 credit hours. And we'll talk about credit hours in Module F. But what goes here in the course description for a topics course is the maximum number of hours each type can have. Prerequisites are also usually listed, varies by course. Okay, we're at the end of the module, so let's have a little checkup. How many sentences does the course description standard say this course description should be? Correct, 3 to 5. Okay, so let's identify the following. The R, the W, and the M1 are skill level advisory codes, that's correct. The 12 is the articulation code, very good. In the parentheses are the contact hours, very good. Now the C1 900 is the IAI code for Gen Ed courses, correct, and the AGR 901 is for majors courses, very good. Now, what is the relationship between student learning outcomes and the course description? Correct, they need to be consistent. So what are our standard effective dates? June 1st, August 1st, and January 1st. What changes have the effective dates at the beginning of the academic year? Prefix number changes and credit hour changes. Very good. And when is the beginning of the academic year? It's June 1st, but we also allow for August 1st. Okay, you've reached the end of the lecture presentation. Thank you.